Mick Rat-Eyed Malone was the kind of criminal who existed in the peripheral vision of Gotham's elite. He wasn't a mastermind like the Riddler or a titan like Bane. He was a scavenger. While the heavy hitters were busy trying to blow up City Hall, Mick spent his time hitting antique shops and estate sales in the shadows of old Gotham. It was in the basement of a boarded-up shop on Miller Street that he found it. Tucked inside a hollowed-out Victorian ledger was a map made of vellum that felt uncomfortably like human skin. It didn't show streets or landmarks. It showed ley lines and ancient trees. "The Bristol Woods," Mick whispered, his yellowed teeth bared in a grin, far enough from the Bat's nightlight. He drove a stolen sedan into the dense, foggy woods 3 miles outside the city limits. After 4 hours of digging beneath the roots of an oak tree that looked like a screaming face, his shovel hit iron. He unearthed a pot, heavy, black, and radiating a cold that bit through his leather gloves. Inside sat hundreds of gold coins. They didn't reflect the light of his flashlight. They seemed to consume it, glowing with a dull, rhythmic amber pulse that matched the beating of his own greedy heart. Mick hauled the iron pot into his trunk and sped back to his tenement in the Diamond District, dreaming of silk sheets and expensive scotch. He didn't notice the black crow that followed his car all the way to the city, its eyes as red as fresh blood. By the time the sun rose over the smog of Gotham, Mick was dead. Batman arrived at the scene before the GCPD had even finished stringing the yellow tape. He dropped from the skylight, his boots hitting the floorboards with a silent thud. The room was a slaughterhouse. Mick hadn't been shot or stabbed. He had been meticulously, brutally repaired. His mouth was sewn shut with indestructible green silk thread. His chest had been burst open from the inside, his ribcage forced outward like the teeth of a trap. Every internal organ had been removed and replaced with the amber-glowing coins. Mick had been stuffed like a taxidermy project, his eyes replaced by 2 large, jagged pieces of gold. Across the peeling wallpaper, written in a substance that smelled of copper and peat moss, were the words, "A stitch for the thief, a coin for the soul. I'll take back me heart and leave ye a hole." "Gordon," Batman said as the commissioner stepped into the room, looking pale. "This isn't a gang hit. Look at the floor." Beside the body were tiny 3-toed footprints burned into the wood. The scent of ozone and ancient whiskey hung in the air. "The neighbors heard something, Batman," Gordon said, wiping sweat from his brow. "They said it sounded like a cobbler's hammer, tap, tap, tap all night long, and then the laughing." Batman picked up a stray coin near the body. As his glove touched the metal, a jolt of psychic energy surged through his cowl. He saw a vision of a green rolling hill turning into a mountain of skulls. He saw a small, twisted figure with a face like a shriveled apple, its mouth filled with needle teeth. "He's tracking the gold," Batman muttered, "and he's not going to stop until every coin is back in the pot, even the ones Mick spent." The Leprechaun didn't just walk through Gotham, he tore through it. Within 3 hours, a pawn shop owner in the Narrows was found turned into a solid gold statue, his skin transformed into 24-karat metal while he was still alive. A taxi driver who had accepted one of Mick's coins was found strangled with his own shoelaces, his feet cut off and replaced with buckled leather shoes. Batman retreated to the Batcave, the massive computer screens flickering with occult data. Alfred cross-referenced the chemical composition of that coin with the Vatican's archives on the Cluricon. "Searching, sir,"
Alfred replied, his voice uncharacteristically tense. "It appears you aren't dealing with a spirit of luck, but a spirit of binding. In the 5th century, these entities were known as the guardians of the Earth's spite. They don't just want gold because it's valuable. They want it because it's a piece of their physical form. To steal a coin is to tear off a piece of the creature's skin." "He's a tracker," Batman said, his jaw tightening as he looked at the city's heat map. "He's moving toward the Gotham Mint. He can smell the concentration of precious metals. He thinks the city's entire treasury is his lost hoard. And if he reaches the vault, he'll sacrifice everyone inside to recharge the gold. Gotham will become a graveyard of statues."
The Gotham Mint was a fortress of concrete and high-tensile steel, but the Leprechaun moved through the walls like a ghost through a shroud. When Batman arrived, the air outside the Mint was thick with a green, choking mist. The heavy steel doors had been folded like origami into the shape of a massive, mocking clover. Inside, the lights flickered with a rhythmic emerald pulse. Batman moved through the marble halls, his cape tucked tight. He found the security team. They were alive, but they were being forced to dance. Their legs moved in a frantic, bone-snapping jig, their faces contorted in agony as an invisible force compelled them to perform. In the center of the grand hall, sitting atop a mountain of gold bullion, was the creature. He was barely 3 feet tall, wearing a tattered frock coat that seemed to be made of dried moss and bat wings. His skin was the color of a bruise, and his eyes were twin pits of yellow fire. "Ye bring a cape to a blood feud, boyo?" The Leprechaun cackled, taking a swig from a stone jug that smelled of rot. "I smelled ye comin', ye smell of iron and sadness." Batman didn't waste breath on words. He launched 3 explosive batarangs. The creature didn't dodge, he simply caught them. The explosions went off in his hands, but the Leprechaun didn't even flinch. He let out a shriek that shattered every window in the hall. "May gold is the blood of the world!" the creature roared. He leapt from the pile of bullion, moving with a speed that defied the laws of physics. He slammed his tiny iron-hard head into Batman's chest, sending the Dark Knight flying through a marble pillar. Batman groaned, his HUD flashing internal damage warnings. He struggled to his feet as the Leprechaun grew. The creature wasn't just a man in a suit anymore. He was a towering mass of shifting shadows and clinking coins. He swung a gold-plated shillelagh that hit with the force of a wrecking ball. Batman fired a grapple gun, swinging around the creature's head and planting a localized sonic emitter on its back. The high-frequency scream caused the Leprechaun to stumble, his form flickering. "I know what you are," Batman yelled over the roar of the wind. "You're a parasite of greed. You need the gold to stay in this world." Batman reached into a hidden compartment in his belt. He had prepared for this the moment he left the cave. He pulled out a specialized cold iron net woven with the same unrefined ore used in ancient exorcisms. He threw the net, but the Leprechaun shredded it with a wave of his hand. "Ye think toys can bind the King of the Hill?" "No," Batman gasped, his blood dripping from his split lip. "The sun can." The Leprechaun paused, looking at the dark windows. "The sun is hours away, Batman." "Not this one."
Batman triggered a remote on his wrist. High above the Mint, the Wayne Tech satellites aligned. A massive array of UVC lamps hidden within the Mint's own security system surged to life. The hall was instantly bathed in a searing 10,000-watt artificial dawn calibrated to the exact spectrum of a rising sun in the Irish Highlands. The Leprechaun let out a scream that sounded like 1,000 dying birds. His shadow form evaporated. He shriveled, his ancient skin blistering under the intense light. He lunged for Batman, his claws inches from the hero's throat, but the cold iron shackles Batman held were finally able to make contact. With a sickening hiss, the iron seared the creature's flesh. The Leprechaun collapsed, shrinking back into a tiny, shriveled husk.
As the artificial light faded, the Leprechaun was gone. He hadn't died, but his physical anchor to Gotham had been shattered. He was pulled back into the iron pot, which Batman had recovered and lined with lead and salt. Batman stood on the roof of the Mint as the actual sun began to rise. Commissioner Gordon walked up, his coat collar turned up against the morning chill. "The statues, the people he turned to gold," Gordon said, his voice shaking. "They're changing back. It's painful, but they're alive." Batman looked down at the iron pot in his hands. It felt heavier than it should. He could hear a faint, muffled scratching from inside, the sound of tiny fingernails against metal. "Where are you taking it?" Gordon asked. "To a place where greed can't find it. Somewhere deep beneath the cave, behind 3 feet of lead and a vacuum seal. It's a debt that can never be paid, Jim, and as long as it's in the dark, Gotham is safe." Batman fired his grapple into the morning mist and vanished. Behind him, on the ledge of the Mint, a single gold coin remained. It sat there for a moment, glowing with a faint amber light, before it crumbled into gray, lifeless dust.